point, I'll call the meeting to order, 6:30. Roll call.
Bomber. Lower.
Here.
Munson.
Here.
Nelson. Here. Smock.
Here.
Wagner. Here. Yates.
All right, have a quorum. Are there any public comments? I didn't see any public. All right. Any board comments? I want to send I guess an I'm sorry or a thank you to all the teachers at New Boston and Apollo that were, having to deal with the construction that we're under and all the headaches that it caused. But I know that as we get further away from that first day, everything's going to be great. We appreciate all you guys did, so thank you. Do we have any correspondence? All right. Item 5, approval of consent agenda. It's in your board packet. Does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like removed from the consent agenda? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Munson approves. Is there a second?
Second.
Nelson seconds. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Lower.
Yes.
Munson.
Yes.
Nelson. Yes. Smock.
Yes.
Wagner. Yes.
Motion carries. Item 6, committee reports. They were in your packet. Anyone have anything? Looking first, the finance report is in there. Anybody have anything they'd like to discuss or add? Anything?
A healthy finance. Well, yes. Yes. It was record setting, but maybe better setting.
Is there anything from the building and grounds committee report that anyone had any questions or comments about? If not, the transportation committee. Okay. Moving on, item 7, informational items, the FOIA requests. There were 2. Pretty standard ones that we get every year. Do you have any questions about those? Or? 7.2, academic improvement plan.
Just a quick update that I copied from the administrative reports that were filed by our leadership team. At the ELC, a portfolio-based system is used to monitor individual student growth towards achievement of the Illinois early learning standards. On August 7th, all 3 teachers in Miss Peak attended portfolio system training provided by the K through 8, students are engaging in fall benchmarking via MAP, STAR, iReady, and Amplify assessment / learning platforms. Results will help display individual student needs and fuel strategic placement in our RTI groups. This fall benchmarking data will be utilized to chart student growth in math and reading throughout the school year. Apollo is placing particular emphasis on RTI scheduling blocks to fuel student growth through targeted supports, enrichment activities in the core skill areas of reading and math. Similar fall math and STAR benchmarking activities are taking place at the junior high as well. At the high school, a learning data wall was created as a tool for reflection and is being used to set academic goals. Particular emphasis is being placed on leveraging a multi-tiered system of support, MTSS, to fuel individual student growth. Student intervention teams are being restructured to include all staff members in individualized student discussions. So all buildings are off and running. in a nutshell, everybody's trying to do their best to figure out where the kids' skills currently are and group them accordingly so they can get supports and enrichment activities that match where they're at.
Anyone have any questions about that, or?
Anything you guys want to add to that or subtract? Anything, Chad, you want to mention on the RTI blocks?
No, just that each third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade will have a block of time where they're doing either math interventions or reading interventions. So,
How big a block is that?
30 to 40 minutes. About a 30-minute block.
So we're seeing like this much.
Sorry.
He sat there intentionally.
Jason, give me the stick.
We had our state compliance visit, if you remember, at the end of last year. And I'll share that with you when we get all the information, but we did get the teacher reports back, and we did well. We're just waiting for some of the other reports, and then we'll write our improvement plan at our first ROE meeting coming up in September. So I'll share all that information with you all.
7.3 capital improvement plan concept.
Just want to show the framework for what I propose we work to develop. Basically, it's a spreadsheet that lists all the items that we want to improve with regards to facilities throughout the district, and prioritize those and separate those out by fund, and then schedule them in particularly in the summer. Some of them will be able to knock out during the school year. Most of the activity will be in the summer. The idea is to just do a thorough assessment of all the facilities, rank things according to priority, work with the finance committee to develop annual budgets for capital improvements from the building fund, the capital improvement fund, and the fire and life safety fund. And then plan those out accordingly by fund, and just keep knocking them out one by one in order of importance as funds allow. And then the concept is just having a continuous list. So we get a school maintenance grant, we know what we're knocking out next. Or we know what we have, what we desire to improve, so that we can look for grants, particularly associated with that. So that's kind of, I think it would start, my idea is it starts with Doug and I walking around, and then engaging the building committee, and ideally doing the same type of a walk around with the building committee. Making sure that we have the comprehensive list, we can start to organize.
And do you have, I know we've replaced quite a few roofs over the years, and I think Scott was keeping track of when we did them, and we still have all that information.
I'll have to check, I'll ask Doug on that.
Okay. 'Cause I know that Scott had that information somewhere where he kept all the sections of roof and when we replaced them last. So we
Okay.
could try to stay on top of it.
Stay on the schedule.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. 7.4, district design team concept.
Just a reminder, principals at each building are working to get one member from each school building to participate on a district design team, where we tackle items such as colors, logos, materials, could be furniture type styles, design type styles, so that we can plan a cohesive, we can have a cohesive plan for upgrades, so that when you walk from one building to the next, you recognize you're in the same school district. And when we do improvements, some of the work is already done, where we don't have to go back and look at 8 different types of flooring to determine what goes where. Design plan will tackle that. We can have, the goal is to have like a book that really is, helps us guide us in our purchases and our operations. So that then the planning stage thing that sticks out to me, this is a very simple thing, and this is not the full work of the design team. But I think it's well acknowledged by all of us that we've got about 40 shades of blue and all kinds of variations of Vegas gold. That's one of the things that we're trying to work to do, is to get a standard color that is Vegas gold that fits the
7.5, high school campus upgrade update.
I just wanted to show that picture from the, where the building committee settled as far as the design and kind of the color scheme. Would you consider this the main entrance?
Yeah, front of the building.
Front of the building. And then page 2 would be the student entrance.
Be the north end of the new classroom.
There were a few different shades of grays, or what I call kind of earth tone. This is where I think they have 5 different options of where to present. I think it's going to be sharp. The gray right there signifies where the current entrance is. This is I will, as we're looking at this, I've been in the high school the last 2 days, and man, that they need space. And I'm not even just talking about classrooms, I'm just talking about they were dealing with something that involved multiple students. They have students in one principal's office, the assistant principal's office, one with the counselor, and now you've got people that have to be in different rooms to interview different people. Now you've got kids sitting alone in one of your administrators' offices, or you have 2 kids that just might have got into a disagreement, and they're sitting probably 8 feet from each other with a thin wall in between, which is typically results in re-escalations. I was there this morning, at breakfast time, and the kids were coming in. We've got the copier where the teachers all make copies is right there in the main office. We've got kids coming into the office who just came in a little bit late, parents dropping off a backpack, and I mean, there's
Teachers
just
getting their mail.
teachers getting their mail.
It's all right
It's
there.
just, yeah, it's a lot. So space will be it's very deserved. Nice.
Right. 7.5, bond issue.
Here's a sample. Now this is, notice the date is April 17. So these values are no way etched in stone. But this is from King's Financial, which would be a sample repayment schedule for a $19 million bond issue. It includes a generous donation from a member of the community. It does not include any penny sales tax. Strategically, my recommendation right now would be to keep that penny sales tax to knock items off of the capital improvement plan at our other campuses, so that we can have a nice high school but still maintain our other buildings. If these numbers were to shake out this way based upon a bond issue, what we can kind of project, show you examples of future levies. So this is the upcoming school tax levy that we'll approve this year. That number there reflects the number that was in King's model. So that's what our bond payment would be, that's what we would need to levy. Our bond payment would be a little bit higher, but that accounts for the private donation. That's how much we would have to levy, which would result in about 58 cents on the levy. And then you look forward, so then with everything else factored in. This is tentative, there's still work to do. But that results in an overall tax rate projected to be $4.99. And then in year two, so for the next several years, I just project a 5% increase in EAV. And then I accompanied those projections with a 5% increase in costs. Just trying to make things equate, make things as realistic as possible, knowing that nothing's going to come in exactly at 5%. But again, putting in those bond payments, what we would have to levy according to that table that King's Financial assembled. So 2000. So basically, in a nutshell, if our EAV increases by 5% a year, it would be a half a cent to a cent that our levy would go up for the first several years of the bond payment. So 2025 levy project to be $5. 2026 levy project to be $5.27. 2027 levy would project to be $5.01. 28, $5.02. 29, $5.03. If you look at a local tax comparison as far as school tax rate goes, we've got a couple districts in the area that have tax rates higher or at that range, and then we've got some neighbors who have tax rates at a lower range. By and large, the overall tax rate is a pretty direct reflection as to where a district is in their capital improvement plan. If they have new buildings that they just passed a bond issue to support, their rate will be a little bit higher. Other factors that go in there too. That's a chunk of a levy, could be anywhere from a 40 to a 70-cent bond interest. That's that from a bond issue standpoint. What I recommend, and I talked to King's Financial, I talked to Bernardi Securities, and I talked to the Board of Community Bank. The latter two I've worked with in the past. King's Financial is the firm that the district has worked with in the past. The conclusion that I have come to is that I would recommend a day of sale public offering via King's Financial, and have King's Financial issue date of sale comparisons to share with us prior to the board voting on that bond issue. The idea is to try and get the lowest possible total debt obligation as we possibly can. I think that strategy gives us the best opportunity to do so. From a timeline standpoint, we're looking at September opening, so the next board meeting, opening a 30-day petition window to issue $19 million in alternate revenue bonds. And then in October, issue those alternate revenue bonds. In November, open a 30-day petition window on funding bonds. And then in February, issue those funding bonds according to the terms that King's Financial was able to secure at the market. And then at that point, we would add that bond issue to the overall tax year 25 versus tax year 25. That's kind of that's the gist of it. Knock on wood, we would have a similar time frame as far as bid documents go. Project to have a really nice low bid to approve and try and knock out phase 1 and phase 2 with the acceptance of the bid in February.
So go through that, go through your schedule again, September.
September, and King's Financial would provide all the documents for us. But basically, the board would take action to open a 30-day petition window to issue $19 million in alternate revenue bonds. That says that you have a claim outside of a health, life, safety issue that you're sending says you've got an outside source to fund that.
Oh, it's right. Taxpayers agree.
Not with the alternate revenue line. But the next thing you do is you open a 30-day petition window to issue funding bonds. Now, the funding bonds do go on the local tax levy. You issue those bonds to pay off the alternate revenue bonds. So that's your source of revenue, are the funding bonds that you issue.
We do this.
Those are the ones you're left with.
We want them, we do it this way.
I don't think so. I think it's close to our intended.
Oh, okay.
But we're gonna go over our
We're
intended.
gonna go over our debt limits.
So it's like
different.
the shopping.
Oh,
Just-
okay.
Just,
That's a good way to.
yeah, we can get it this way, and then we're gonna use this over here to pay that off, and
Okay. Okay.
Because we will go over our 100% debt limit.
Okay.
Which is not unheard of.
Right.
There's a whole list of schools that fairly common. But the thing we want to be upfront with taxpayers is that it will go on.
Well,
local
right,
levy.
right. So then, when we're talking the levy, how would 2025 stack up to 2024? Do you have those?
Yep.
So like, because the thing that
Go back to
people will, they don't want to see their taxes go up. And so is the levy gonna go up past our max percent? Okay, that's what, so we've got the max percent, we're below that.
Yeah, which with the bond and interest levy,
We're still
you pay, there's no max. You tell the county clerk, hey, we borrowed this much money, and then you give them the bond schedule, the payment
So
schedule.
how can we go, why would we have to go to referendum? I guess.
It's a different route. You could go that way and end up in the same spot.
are you thinking about the percentage increase? Maximum is 5%.
So no, I thought when we came together as a district, we set a max, I thought there was a max levy.
Certain funds
Certain funds.
have caps.
Right.
And those, yeah, at the consolidation vote, that they were set. And which funds is it that are?
Ed
capped?
fund is the one that's the most fluid. Ed and building. Transportation is, I think that's capped at 20 cents by law. Working cash, fire and safety are the same.
So how are we getting away from not having to send it out for a referendum?
By issuing two separate sets of bonds and having two 30-day petition windows.
And what can happen during those 30-day petitions?
There's a certain number of, if a certain number of community members sign a petition and turn it into the district office,
Okay.
then the bond issue is dead.
Okay, that's what, I just wanted to make sure that, like, I don't want people to claim that we're, like, trying to
Yeah.
go around and not going through, because the whole purpose when we started this was we had extra money based on old bonds being paid off, that we had a dollar amount of money that we could go to without raising the
Yeah.
taxes on our constituents, so my concern was, it made it sound like I know we're kind of going around it, but I also don't want people to say when their taxes go up that didn't give us an opportunity to voice the.
There'll be two 30-day petition windows.
Okay, and if they get enough signatures during any of those times,
It's dead.
it's dead. Okay.
Then could you go to referendum after
Then you
that?
could go to referendum after that. Follow the calendar to get on the next one.
But, I mean, the levy will go up 15 cents the first year.
Yeah.
And then gradually after that, so it's gonna be one jump in 1 year, and then gradually go up after. Cause it's what, 484 right now?
Right there's what people are paying right now.
Right.
Which that, you figure if it's a $150,000 home, every nickel's worth about $25. So 20 cents is $100 for somebody that owns a $150,000 home. And that's, I think, that what we try and articulate is that's the reality. of, you know, if this is what you want as a community, and you own $150,000 home, it's gonna cost you $100 a year for the next, you know, similar to a mortgage for the next 20 years in order to be able to have that. That's different for farmers, because their ground is assessed differently than just residential.
And did we look at issuing two separate bond issues? Because instead of taking out 19 million and getting to a really hit, 19 million, that we look at taking out partial in case rates go
I
down?
haven't.
Okay. I wasn't sure if they're, I mean, King's probably have a better idea than we do for sure, but I know rates have gone down a little bit, but.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Do you do a partial, I think we had talked about that at one point in time, of, you know, maybe issuing $10 million first issue, and then waiting to issue the final 9 to see if there was an opportunity to reduce the rate, but.
That's the beauty of the private placement that Morton Community Bank wasn't willing to do, just because of the amount of money it was.
Right.
The beauty of the private placement is just like you said, you get the money when you need the money.
Oh, okay.
You know, you don't have to, when you issue a bond, when you sell a bond, all 19 million of it comes in, you start paying interest on all 19 million of it, even though it might be a year before you pay that construction company.
Right.
The last bit of that money.
Right.
The danger of doing it on a public issue is that bid will hit us in February, and it might be a $19 million bid. And if we've only issued $12 million worth of bonds, and then we can't issue the next $7 million, but we're already in a $19 million contract, you know, the best we do there is you just try and mitigate the difference. You try and invest it to get as much interest, to cover as much of the interest that you're paying.
Right. So it's the white bond.
Yeah, and that was the case as well.
I think it was, or was it
He said
Boucher?
he set up account just for the district and
Yeah, it wasn't, I don't think it
it's
was.
done through his office.
But you're right, that's the dance you try and, you
Yeah.
you don't want the money until you need it, because you start paying interest and stuff. Yeah.
Right.
But you gotta know you have it when you sign a contract,
Yeah.
otherwise, it's gonna happen.
Right. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions on the bond issue? Good discussion.
And to your point, with as far as the public goes, I mean, this is something that we keep talking about.
Right.
So just make sure we try and get all the information out there.
Perfect. Annual bond abatement.
I propose that we do not abate any bonds this year. And what that means is we keep all of our penny sales tax for capital improvement projects, rather than putting some of it towards our bond payment.
Student loan update.
Okay, this comes from our leadership team as well, within their administrative reports. So you can see initial fall enrollment numbers, morning pre-K, afternoon pre-K, and full day, total of 65 youngsters marching across the parking lot towards their little caged-in area for recess every day. It's funny watching them walk across there, because if they see us eating lunch, they'll wave, and then they just veer totally off until somebody grabs it. But they've been riding the buses, they've been getting back and forth. It's awesome. Here you can see our breakdown as far as our grade schools go. A total of 524 students across our 2 grade schools. You can see in particular class sizes, sections. We've got 2 sections of every grade in New Boston. We've got 2 sections of some grades at Apollo and Chet.
3 sections.
3 sections of every grade.
4 of kindergarten.
And 4 of kindergarten. Thank you.
It's like you need 4 of third too.
I'm not kidding. I wish I was.
At the junior high, they've got one fourth grader, one fifth grader. I think that's in our life skills program.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sixth grade, you can see is a class size of 92, 93, and 7, 81, 88. You can see our high school class sizes, freshmen 107, 106 sophomores, 98 juniors, and 105 seniors. So we have a total enrollment at the high school of 416. Now, what we need to recognize is how those project. So right now, our high school enrollment is 418. If you move forward with those numbers, nobody in, nobody out, you can see, within the next 6 years, we're down to 360 in the high school, which is a drop of 61 kids, a drop of about 15% over that 6-year span. Our biggest drop will be next year, where we graduate 105 kids and bring in 81. Now that's again as things currently stand. To me, one of the things that excites me about the high school is the opportunity for that as a recruitment tool for teachers and families to want to come to school, in particular for the high school experience, because it's going to be a modern facility. So I think that's another piece of evidence to me that now is the time to do it, and we size it appropriately. Any thoughts on enrollment that I missed, you guys?
I just had the idea of mobility. We had a lot of students actually enroll new this year. A large population of students that were homeschooled in our community that came back to our buildings.
It is always fun talking to you guys when people are coming to register, where people, I know there's different reasons for why they're trying to register a kid here, but it's always nice to hear somebody trying to figure out some way to get their kid in the district. Because it means we're doing something decent, that they're wanting to be here. We have had to tell some people no, because they don't live in the district.
I think I sent somebody to Leanne that asked me how much it costs to go here.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions about the student enrollment? The bus route updates.
Adding that new, this is kudos to Jody and Ernie. Adding that new North Boston AM route has resulted in direct time savings for 12 families and 20 young kids. I say direct because by taking them off of some other routes, there's some indirect savings on those other routes. Families on other New Boston elementary routes experience those additional savings. So you can see, here's our stops. So this new family, this is a kindergartner, so they didn't have a bus ride time last year. The second family last year, and this was what they, until we added this route, this is where they were scheduled to get picked up at 6:35 for a first grader and a third grader. We added, I call it sleep time, because we added 16 minutes to their morning, which is what I would be doing if I was that kid. I'd be paying to sleep 16 minutes longer. The second family, we added 16 minutes, 14, 15, 19, 24, 29. This family, they were going to get on the bus. This is a kindergartner, 2 second graders, and a third grader. They were going to get on the bus at 6:37, and they're pushed back to 7:19. That's a huge difference, and really similar for the preschooler and the third grader and family 11. So if you add those number of minutes times each kid, we just added 447 minutes of sleep every morning. So come on, Teresa, those test scores got to go through the roof. So thank you, to the transportation committee for allowing us making that recommendation to do that. With, last month the board agreed to move forward with a TransFinder or Route Finder subscription. We're still still getting onboarded to that. Our goal between me and Julie and Ernie is to find one tweak that we can make to start school after the holidays. To try and again, gain a little bit more sleep, have something a little bit more efficiency. And then really utilize that software to get in there and play with what we're gonna have next year, where we're going to transport the kids, and see if we can make times, more efficient programs.
Does this cause chaos in your building?
Well, I think we got all chaos sorted. I was telling her they're definitely more awake. Are you referring to like yesterday? We had
I'm
an
referring
issue
to, I was at Walmart trying to buy dirt, and I heard two of,
last night.
two of
Yeah.
them employees chatting.
I don't know. Yesterday we had some miscommunication with the substitute bus driver who also has a substitute monitor, and they left without our actual children. They picked up the transfer kids, and then we got it right away, and they turned right back around. I mean, he just literally circled the block. We got them on. We figured it out. Ernie and I watched all sorts of footage today, and I think, and I'm supervising it the rest of this week and today, and it seemed to go much more smoothly, so.
That doesn't have anything to do with the new route.
No, I
Oh,
will
it
say.
didn't have anything to do with New
And
Road?
that has to do with hubs and
That was
transitions of our buses that we have scattered all over.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to not eavesdrop, and then I finally eavesdropped. What are you doing?
What do you guys think?
I got it this morning, and it was the first thing I heard this morning, people like, anyway, so, but, actually, I think the main thing hindering our transportation is that road work going on. We've had a bus coming in really late, and kids aren't eating breakfast till like 8:10, we started at 8:05. But, I mean, we're giving them breakfast and we're working through it. Honestly, I think in general, that's the biggest issue we've been having. We need to lay that in.
I thought they were like, to the point where they were gonna start laying it, and then the next day I see they're just taking more off.
Yeah, it looks like they started over.
Well, I know, I was like, when did they put down stuff, and then they took it off?
They keep getting closer.
Not that I know.
I don't know anything about it
I didn't
either.
get any advice.
I did think there were a couple days or like almost a week where there wasn't anything going on.
Yeah, yeah, it was looking good.
I mean, let's start when school starts, it's great.
Yeah, they probably couldn't get the people to put the furniture together either. That's why I had a problem.
It is, from what I have heard, and Teresa can speak to this better than me, but having the buses on one side and the parents on the other side of the building makes things a little bit smoother and safer. What I've heard from Ernie today is just trying to, everybody get into a rhythm of what door are the kids coming out of? Because now there's two doors on that side, right, where the kids can come out of, and the bus might be parked up there and they're coming out of the lower door. And then they get in a rhythm and it's a sub bus driver. They're not sure which door it is.
It's, we have a lot of kindergartners in first grade in that very last bus in the afternoon, and so the curvature of the inside hallways is apparently a struggle, so it's easier just to bring them straight out and straight in. We'll see what happens when the weather changes. For now, I think that's what we'll communicate with the bus drivers.
Were there any other concerns, Lori, that the community expressed?
How's your drop off pickup going this year?
It's all fun.
Yours too?
Mhm. Yeah, and the lane opened up at your building at the beginning of the year. I don't think there's been any issues. Like when it opened last year, it was just that he put a map together that trained everybody so well that everybody used this parking lot and they just did it over here. That's where like the routine start of the year has been working out well.
The initial shock for me was walking out the north side of the building and there's a bunch of adults staring at the school from the playground. Like, oh, wait, oh, they're parents. These
Were
are
they
parents
picking
up their
people up?
kids.
Oh yeah, at the end of the day?
Right, at
Oh,
the end
yeah.
of the day, there's just a bunch
Yeah,
of
they
people
just wait for that
standing there
door to
staring at
open.
the building.
It wasn't a lynching for the
I
sub
know,
driver.
what is
I had to
going
circle the
on?
block and pick the other kids up. Get back here.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Okay. All right, so we're through information items, on to action items. 8.1, press
116 has come in, the rhythm that we're going to try and get in, that I would suggest, that Lee, unless you tell me differently, that Lee and I are certainly right now, is do a December/January approval of whatever, you know, it might be 2 or 3 issues of press that come in during that time. And then do the same thing in June, July. Just get into that rhythm of December, January, June, July, December, January, June, July.
Instead of, we do it quarterly now, don't we?
Or just whatever.
Yeah, I like that better.
So if you're fine with that, those months, for the most part, are a little bit slower. So we had some policy come in that we wanted to walk through a little bit more.
They have a webinar for issue 116. What day that was, I watched that. And then the very next day, the Supreme Court said, it's pretty much moot.
What's 116?
It was all the Title IX changes. And then, so that's in the air for a while. So we're not supposed to, they started the webinar saying, please don't put any of these policy changes into effect until you talk to your lawyer. So as soon as you hear that, like, oh.
So do we need to amend this then?
No, this
No,
will be
that's the next
115.
Oh,
Just the
okay.
one before that.
Knock on wood, in the December, January timeframe. We'll have all that sorted out. So I would ask for
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion to approve quarterly press policy.
Also,
Munson moves, is there a second?
second.
Lower seconds. We do voice vote on this. Voice vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Alright. Motion carries 4-1. 8.2, FY 25 district.
Hey, this is just a synthesis of the conversation at the July meeting, and just confirming and asking for action to confirm this is the FY District 25 goals. In buckets, the first bucket, student academic growth and achievement. Continue to strengthen K through 8 ELA literacy and math curriculum instructional approach, and continue to modernize the curriculum approach. In programs and services, continue to strengthen social emotional student supports, increase targeted pathway-based course opportunities. In district and community relations, strengthen community involvement in schools, continue to solidify and expand positive branding. Bucket number 4, facilities and accessibility, develop and implement long-term capital improvement plan, solidify security, safety, and district crisis plan. And then in the area of finance, develop and implement long-term budget levy projections and plans, increase operational efficiencies, keeping student needs first.
Okay, anyone have any questions or discussions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve FY 25 district goals as presented.
Move to approve the 2025 district goals.
Munson, motion, is there a second?
Second.
Nelson? Is it voice vote on this as well? All those in favor, or is there any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries 5-0.
We'll continue, the leadership team will continue to categorize our updates in these buckets that are associated with this.
And 8.3 is the e-learning plan renewal.
I respectfully ask for your time.
Okay. So,
Throw that on in September.
we need a motion to table.
Move to table the e-learning plan.
Munson, do I have a second?
Second.
Wagner seconds. Voice vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Journey 12.
Okay, we got a refined proposal, up-to-date proposal. The figures are similar. We removed the podcast from the program. Total cost, $53,974. Right now, I've got that built into the budget to use ESSER 3 funds for that expense this year. And then we can see if it's something we want to continue, pursue a different grant to use local funds. We do have another potential grant opportunity that I just found out about today that I've got. IWA's system was down in this category. Scott couldn't remember if this grant, we did get a grant that was community based. He's unsure if it's the grant that we're working with the health department on, or if there are potentially funds available in this grant that we can target towards this. Or at least one of those three funds towards education.
Any discussion? Entertain a motion.
I move to approve the Journey 12 proposal presented.
What?
$53,974.
Wagner made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Munson seconds. Voice vote, or roll call vote, please.
Lower,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes.
Nelson. Smock,
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
All right, motion carries by vote. District treasurer's contract, I'm assuming we're tabling that as well?
No,
Oh,
we're ready to give the value, we just don't have a
oh,
name
we just don't have a
associated.
person.
We're sweetening the pot.
There we go. Yeah.
So we're proposing to raise it $100 from $22.50 to $23. That might give us one of those CPAs that got your laid off.
Just get not wrong, no.
No, you're right. So I would just ask for approval of that as a value and for the slot.
I move to approve the district treasurer contract for FY 25 for $2,350.
You're really trying to bring
And
it up.
we'll get one of these here. We might post an actual employee.
Yeah.
It'll be $2,350.
All right. Is there a second? Wagner. Roll call vote, please.
Munson,
Yes.
Nelson. Smock,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
and Lower.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Tentative FY 25 budget, tentative 24 school tax levy.
Okay, budgetary approach. We budgeted for a 12% health insurance increase, because we know that's what it's gonna be. We've planned a tentative tax levy through the 2029 tax year, working to position the district for an upcoming bond issue, working to position the district for successful implementation of the long-term capital improvement plan, working to position the district for successful implementation of the fleet management plan. As far as fund balances go and surplus or deficits by fund, this will be a newsflash to our administrative team. Since and finance committee really, except for Julie.
Okay.
Well, no, you never didn't see the value come in. So yesterday afternoon, we got our final CPPRT numbers.
Oh.
And they reduced that by 32%. We have a majority of that in ed funds. So we were, last year, we got about $1.5 million in CPPRT funds. This year, the ed fund, we're gonna get about $1 million. So that was about a $500,000 swing. The state, I talked to Scott about it today. Scott has been very kind in donating his time to
He's
help
probably
me
bored.
understand some- Hey, what you doing? So walking through some things with him, what he believes has happened is there, a few years ago, several years ago, the state was overpaying. They were paying more than what they were taking in. Than the last several, they have some type of a, I don't know, a rhythm or a plan as to how they're reallocating funds to account for that mistake. He mentioned there's a district, there are districts that rely on this significantly more than we do. 32% for them is a huge, going, and it's August 21st. Everybody's, a lot of places have already approved it.
There was a time they required us to pay them back. On the CP year to the end. I don't remember, it might have been last year vouchers.
I think you're right.
And they made us pay it back.
Yeah. It wasn't a
It was
huge
in the
amount, was
school
it?
year.
Maybe you were the one telling me that yesterday.
No, we didn't talk about that.
It's just half a million dollars.
Every teacher, every teacher's out, that makes sense.
So that's what, from a leadership standpoint, that's why you see a deficit in the ed fund now, rather than the surplus that we were talking about. We do end with $3.4 million in the ed fund projected as part of this budget. But something that we have to note is that we spend $14.5 million in the ed fund. So as far as days cash on hand in the ed fund, it's not a lot. Now, there's about $350,000 in ESSER 3 expenditures that won't be on there this year. In the building fund, you see a deficit because we are spending money from previous bond issues for building upgrades. And that's $5 million of those expenditures are the Apollo and Boston upgrades. So if you take that $5 million out, your operational expenditures are about 1.8 million. We have about 1.8 million in the bank. That's where you kind of want to be. You love to have a year's cash on hand the fund. So that deficit's not scary at all. Bond and interest deficit's not scary at all either. We just try and generate the revenue to pay the bonds back. And you really don't want to have a big balance in bond and interest. You just want to be ready for what you count at. Transportation fund, this is one where we're going to have to look for some savings in. We're running an $85,000 deficit in it now. We have about $1.4 million in expenditures with an ending balance of $881,000. Still, it's a healthy balance, but it won't last, if you run a deficit. IMRF, Social Security, Fund 50 and 51, just consolidated Fund 50. That's running a deficit, but no concern there at all because the ending balance is $638,000. Expenditures are $559,000. We have more than a year's worth of cash in IMRF, and I don't really mind if that is down to, single digits. Just levy for what we need there. Capital improvement, we bring in a little bit of revenue each year from the pending sales tax, 1% sales tax. I don't have any expenditures allocated out of Fund 60 in this year's budget, so we would end with approximately $2.3 million to spend on capital improvements. Now that doesn't mean we can't do some projects this summer and use Fund 60 funds for. I just don't project the bills to come in by July 1st. So they would be on next year's budget. Working cash, we still have $4.9 million in working cash from that previous, I think it was a 2022 bond issue. So that can go into various locations. In this year's budget, I've got a little bit of it going into the building fund, just because I'm looking at projects. Tort fund, from a surplus deficit standpoint, that's pretty much on point, and that's a very healthy balance. Tort fund. We do pay for some educational services out of the tort fund that our educational personnel provide in order to keep the students in the schools. In the in Fund 90, Health and Life Safety, Fire Prevention and Safety, we have a deficit of $414. That's just because dollars out, we're right on target. And an ending balance of $15.1 million. From a levy standpoint, I've told you guys multiple times that I've gotten into a rhythm of approving the budget and the levy at the same meeting. I propose we hold off on the levy and do that in that November, December timeframe, again, like you guys have a history of doing. One reason is here, each levy goes towards each budget wholeheartedly. Here, you don't get any, like, all of the money that's funding this budget came from last year's levy. So this year's levy doesn't support this year's budget anymore, which was the whole purpose for me of approving the levy and budget at the same time, so we approved the levy and supported the budget. But in other districts, we convert the tax levy, so that levy actually does support that budget, at least to a certain percentage. Here, that's not the case.
Don't we usually find out super late how much?
Like, that's a very good point,
It used
because
to come in before July 1st, some of it.
Right, but I mean, no, I
As
was
far as
meaning,
the EAV
the
goes.
EAV,
Oh.
we have an estimate.
Yeah, we get an
Yeah.
estimate, but then it's like the day before the tax bill goes out, they tell us what
That's
it's like
true.
super late for
No,
some.
that's true. It's that, and that's, I think that's true in most places, at least in my experience.
So are we approving the tentative budget?
Approving the budget, not the levy.
Okay.
We'll keep fine tuning the, well, I'll do some fine tuning to the budget too. I'll keep studying it and trying to increase its accuracy before we do the final approval next month.
Okay.
We'll just keep doing the same thing with the levy and bring it back November, December.
All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve the tentative FY '25 budget.
I moved to approve the tentative FY budget.
Wagner, motions, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Munson, seconds. Roll call, please, or any discussion? Roll call.
Nelson. Smock.
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
Lower.
Yes.
Munson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. I would entertain a motion to table the tentative 2024 school tax levy.
I'll move to table 2024 tax levy portion.
Munson tables. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Nelson seconds. Do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. 8.7, intergovernmental agreement with the city of Aledo.
This is the tennis court property. We already have I don't know if it's a good faith agreement or there's already been some formal documents in play. In order to transfer ownership per the city, they need intergovernmental agreements with us first. Once they get that in place, then they have a few different things that they have to do. I've fielded no concerns from the city of Park District.
Have any questions? If not, I entertain a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement with Aledo Park District.
I'll move to approve the intergovernmental agreement with the Aledo Park District.
Munson, is there a second?
Second.
Lower seconds. Roll call, please.
Smock.
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
Lower.
Yes.
Munson.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yeah.
Motion carries 5-0. 8.8, IEC powered by future green electricity power purchase agreement renewal.
Okay, the district already has a power purchase agreement with IC Power by Future Grid. It's Ecology/IC. Our current rates, we have 3 PPAs. We have a 50% rate of a little over 8 cents per kilowatt hour, 25, and then 25% of our electricity we purchase at about 6.5 cents, and then the other remaining 25% we purchase on a looks like we have 17 meters that we own and pay electricity on. In FY '24, our total electricity bill was $254,500.
Power.
Power everything that the district owns.
Every single building, every single area.
A 20% savings is $50,000. I think this contract is gonna save us significantly. 20%. My goal is to cut our overall energy costs in half. It's a multi-year.
Yeah, we've got a couple years for electricity to get it worked out.
That's right.
This contract.
With this contract. So that, it's a very good rate, it's a competitive rate. The thing that I'm, I don't know, pleasantly surprised about, when they run these numbers, you have 48 hours to lock in. So, they gave us a rate on Thursday, and that's, I originally had that tied to the, hyperlinked to the agenda. And then they ran it again today and they actually dropped it. So, I want to get this signed and scanned as soon as possible.
That's what I expected, because I figured this was like a pressure tactic. Like sign now, and it was a pressure tactic, but then they lowered the price a few days later. Okay.
And everything indicates that electricity prices are going to potentially go down. There was a capacity market in PJM RTO, which is what the Chicago area ComEd customers are in. The price of that capacity market is, I don't remember what the percentage is, but it was 20%. So our folks to the north, our friends to the north, their power bills are going to go up some, or have their own generation on the side. I will give you a little bit of comparison. So at Williamsville, we have a 15-year power purchase agreement with solar on site. It's about 2.5 cents per kilowatt hour.
Just agreed.
But those prices are, that was 3 or 4 years ago, those prices.
Was that probably around the same time we had that company came
It's the same
to
company.
us? Remember they wanted to, but I voted no because they wouldn't let me run an extension cord to my house. Power off of it, so I voted for it. No, I don't remember how, I would think
It was
just.
gonna take up the whole practice.
Yeah, it was,
I saw it.
we used the practice field quite a bit, so it's it.
Was that before me?
It might have,
I think it had to be before me, because I don't remember us talking
Yeah, it
solar.
was-
it might have been, yeah,
We were still meeting in the
Yep.
superintendent's office.
yep, you're right.
For the full board meeting.
Okay. Well, I would entertain a motion to approve the IEC powered by Future Green Electricity Powered Purchase Agreement renewal.
I move.
Just say so.
So moved.
That's why I read it off like that. It's a
So
mouthful.
moved. Jason moves.
Munson
Just for that
makes the
one.
motion, and is there a second? Lower? Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Wagner,
Yes.
Lower,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes.
Nelson, Smock.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. And on to administrative reports. Anything to add or highlight that you have on the, start with you first, Becky.
Yeah, the only thing I have is we've been in session 3 days, so we're just establishing routines, and transitions, separations from parents. But I feel like compared to Monday, even to today, it's kind of amazing to see that they can kind of walk the line, they're sitting, we don't have as many tears, so things
Until they
are
get to
going
the
well.
playground, we've had our windows open, and some of them are learning how to play with others.
Yes, yes. So that'll be all year, we'll work on that.
I have like
two things, I guess, just, one, it would be great if any of y'all could come on out just to see the building. We'd be happy to get somebody to tour from that. The difference between last Wednesday morning and last Wednesday after 6 when I finally left was miraculous. I mean, one furniture guy stayed for like 10 hours, somebody else, like I wasn't sure. But by 6 o'clock Wednesday, it was evident we were gonna make it. And then, of course, whatever we hear within the community, we are tweaking things and we are taking all those things seriously. Sometimes when we look at something on paper, it just doesn't play out the way we think it's gonna play out. We're working with whole new sides and everything, but I think we're progressing the right way.
So is that an invitation to come down and like do a tour, or you want to
Yes,
build
I
furniture?
would-
Little column A,
You
column
know,
B.
we still have some things that could get done, so, I mean, if he'll let you, I'm more
Well,
than happy.
we talked about having next month's board meeting there, just so that we can do a tour maybe before, and that,
Yeah.
that's,
Well, I mean, if we're streaming it, which one are we going in, right, like a classroom, probably do that.
yeah.
We'll talk it through.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the space is, we're not afraid to go in any of them.
I know.
You don't have to pick the good one.
The one that's gonna be on TV,
Right.
yeah.
You know what the classroom teachers did too, I mean, I wrote it in the report, I don't think I can stress it enough, we really, when you go in to look, they tweaked it a little bit, but what they did within some of them a weekend, because they had some access around furniture, but most of them within like 36 hours. I was just super impressed, like custodian, I'm just impressed with everybody.
We had our unpack the bag night. That was huge success.
You had to throw that in there, didn't you?
I know.
Circle K and Walmart donated some school supplies. We talk about community relations, so we're thankful for that. So we always have students that don't even come to school without stuff, so that's good. We do appreciate our new facilities. There's some pictures up there on the new gym floor, and the new cafeteria. We're still, like Teresa said, tweaking that. You know, we had stuff on paper, and then the flow doesn't quite work. So the tables in the picture actually they've moved since then in the cafeteria. So getting things figured out. They redid the whole fire alarm system, which is great. We have a fire drill next Tuesday, so we'll test that out. See how that works. But, yeah, I think we do have we moved our special ed into those classrooms at the end of the building for now, just for space. So just so you are aware of that, we are utilizing those classrooms. We're not sitting in. So, yeah, that's about it.
I'm just glad he went before me because I was going to open with our open houses. Thank you. But no, we had really just a number of kids and parents in our building. Like we were close to 95% of people in the house that night, so it was really impressive. Just the flow of people that went through the building. But we're pretty status quo now. I mean, this is our third year, so almost old hat people know what they're doing and going pretty well.
For the record too, I told all of them they didn't have to be here tonight because they put together pretty comprehensive reports. So they hung Andrea and Brandy out to dry.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Well, I think. You just told me that now. Well, and we talked about doing next month's in New Boston, and I think we used to,
Yeah.
years ago, we kind of go from building to building once a year, go to, and so I think we'd like to get in that rhythm again if we can. Just gets us into the buildings maybe that we don't get to see all the time. I see the high school a lot. I used to see Apollo all the time. I used to see here, but we don't get to see those anymore. So if that works for you all, Tim. I guess you're always hosting, so
Not a problem.
Not a problem at all.
So thank you all. I appreciate you coming. So we are to close session.